Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, and Shalom. Today, let me demystify West Asia, or what is popularly called the Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to talk about the Middle East, a region that never quite been at peace with itself ever since the end of World War II. The same Middle East is also a region so complex in its power dynamics that it gives very little clue to an average observer why multiple conflicts keep happening again and again in this region. There are three persistent or the factors that are driving and shaping the Middle East. The first major factors are the sectarian regional conflicts, under which Shia Sunni divide and the most important Muslim Jews divide play a role. Second is foreign power intervention. I will try to see how Europe, America, Russia, and China influence the events in Middle East. And the third most important is the control of oil, SLOC, and the trade routes. Under this, I will try to explain how control over 50% proven reserve of world's petroleum and gas, the control of critical sea lanes of communication like the Suez Canal, the Strait of Hormuz, and now the IMEC, the India, Middle East, European Economic Corridor are playing a major role in this power game. We often get an impression that Palestinian movement is the primary cause of the instability in Middle East. Far from it. It is interesting to note that the recurring episodes of Israeli-Palestinian conflict is merely a symptom, not the actual cause of Middle East wars. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the story of the last 7 decades, I would say, consists of nothing but the after effect of the dismantling of the colonial era. This was followed by a surge of pan-Arabic, pan-Islamic, ideologically driven nationalist movements. This was fueled and fanned by the Cold Wars and later by the superpower rivalry. Now, against this volatile background, the popular narrative designed to delegitimize Israel and the exaggerated versions of alleged displacement of Palestinians have further given birth to a cult of religiously, ideologically driven global movement and the mother of all conflicts between the radical Islam and the free democratic Western world. Some of the ugliest faces of this conflict we have been witnessing in recent days since October 7, 2023. But before I move on to the Middle East for my audience, let me show you what is happening around the world. Today in our world, we have 5 potential active conflict zones. The first is Ukraine in Europe. Gentlemen, let's not pretend the war in Ukraine is not a Russian-Ukraine war. It is clearly a Russian NATO proxy war, from which Trump administration has been trying to distance itself. As we know, this war remains inconclusive even after the lapse of 4 years since it started in February 2022. Second is in the South China Sea, where China is determined to take back Taiwan as its 35th province, while the entire world stands opposed to China's unilateral action. Third is the Middle East, Hamas-Israel conflict leading to Iranian crisis. That is the topic of our discussion today. And the fourth is the Venezuelan Western Hemisphere crisis, a surprise action by Trump that left the entire world stunned. And the fifth is, of course, the Trump expression of his intent to annex Greenland in the Arctic that is making heads roll not only in Europe, but among the proponents of the international rule of law and world order around the world. While in this globalized world, most international events remain connected with each other, but the manner in which American action in Venezuela is connected to the Gaza conflict through Hezbollah and IRGC, Iran and China, qualifies it to be discussed in a little more detail. Let me explain. While the prima facie world thought that America took action in Venezuela for its oil, fact is that Trump is trying to kill many birds in one shot. Look at it. The Islamic regime of Iran, through its armed wing IRGC and the proxy Hezbollah, had been hitherto running a highly profitable narco drug syndicate in which fentanyl supplied by Chinese mafias were being processed under the state patronage of a dubiously elected president. No, he lost the election in the first time. Then he cancelled that election, got a re-election done, in which he manipulated and got himself elected. And he is a mafia lord. An insane amount of illicit drugs are being pushed into America, which has become a national problem for the Americans. Now, everybody knew about this, how it is happening, but nobody did anything about it. Now, to run this narco terror syndicate, a large number of Hezbollah operatives supported by Iran were stationed in Venezuela. The Hezbollah operatives have been training in Venezuela for this purpose. By busting this vicious narco terror drug racket, Trump has tried to cut off a major source of funding of the Islamic regime of Iran, IRGC, and its terror proxy, Hezbollah, and other Shia militias in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and Hamas operatives in West Bank. All of them were getting their substantial funding through Iran, through IRGC, from this source. Secondly, by controlling Venezuela oil, Trump is disrupting very effectively the Chinese operation of 12% of its total refining capacity. This capacity is designed to refine exclusively only the thick, heavy Venezuelan crude oil. That 12% refineries located in China cannot refine any other grade of crude imported from any other part of the world. So China is basically stuck with the Venezuelan oil for 12% of its refining capacity. By controlling production and supply of this thick Venezuelan oil, Trump is also forcing China to buy Venezuelan oil. That is the only when Trump allows it. That too, Trump will ensure that it is bought exclusively in dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, China has no choice. In order to operate 12% of its refining capacity created in China, China is badly stuck to importing none other than the Venezuelan oil, that too now in dollars. Now, we must understand that Trump had to take this drastic action in earnest to derail an alarmingly increasing dollar-free international trade in crude oil that has picked up tempo in the world recently, which any person with common sense will know is highly detrimental to American financial primacy, meticulously built through the supremacy of dollar in the world. Moreover, our audience will sure find it interesting to note that 99% of Venezuelan US sanctioned oil was being lifted exclusively by only one country, and that country is China. And that China was doing till date absolutely free of cost, without spending a single dollar, by adjusting its payment against the 15 billion investment debt that Venezuela owes to China. This was the catch. Together with disrupting the Iranian oil supplies to China through its total blockade of Iranian waters, which is at the moment going on, and effective clamping on shadow shipping of sanctioned Russian crude oil, Trump is de facto starving Chinese economy of 25% of its total energy needs, crippling Chinese economy so badly it has little chance to recover from. This must therefore be seen as Trump's answer to the China's disruption of the supply of rare earth to America to cripple American industry in its trade war with America. I am mentioning this to my audience here because it is important for them to know that away from the chaos of the Middle East, out of box idea to construct a Riviera in Gaza to solve Gazan problem, absolutely a fantastic idea. Bid to acquire Greenland to check increasing influence of Russia, China in Arctic, again a very outlandish idea. Throwing tantrum in Davos for not getting Nobel Prize from Denmark, collaboration with Putin to force Zelensky to stop immediately the fratricidal war with Russia, pulling up NATO members for not footing the bill for European security for their spineless, gutless inaction, incompetence, and misplaced priorities in handing over their own societies to the Muslim Brotherhood Islamists through their open border policies and mass unregulated migration under, very important to note, stealthy globalist agendas perpetuated by world none other than by World Economic Forum, and who are called the Reset Group, in the garb of sustainable development. Behind all this chaotic, disruptive, distractive smoke screen that Trump has deliberately been creating around himself to fox and confuse its critics, geopolitical analysts are failing to see how Trump is quietly trying to gain incremental upper hand in its superpower rivalry with China by very cleverly taking its China war, which is actually Trump's top priority, away from South China Sea to Venezuela, Iran, Middle East, Ukraine, Canada, Greenland, to silently attack China economically where it hurts China most, to practically bring China down to its knees. It is worthwhile to remind our audience that the edifice of American power post World War global primacy rested on four primary fundamental pillars. The first pillar is the control of all LOCs around the world through its blue water navy. America has its blue water navy for only one purpose, that is to control the SLOCs. Second pillar is the control of world energy supply. Now, many people think that America wants to grab other countries' oil. No, America does not want to grab that oil. America only wants to control it. Control whom these countries should supply, whom not to supply, and what terms to supply. Now, third pillar has been control of supremacy of dollar through petrodollar diplomacy. Now, you see here there is a connect between the world energy supply and the supremacy of dollar. How? Through petrodollar diplomacy, which means that America superpower status is based on the fact that it not only controls the energy supply of the world, but controls in which currency this energy is being transacted by the world. By doing that, it ensures that dollar remains in circulation, in demand, and the treasury bonds are continued to be purchased. No country can survive in this world without having a handsome reserve of dollars, because if it needs energy, and everybody needs energy, the energy will be available to them only in dollars, and that is what exactly America ensures through its superpower status. And the fourth factor by which America maintains its primacy in the world is the control of critical military technology. Now, to control the SLOCs and to control the oil producing countries needs huge military power. Supremacy of military power is maintained only with the superiority in the military technology, and therefore American policy is to maintain a technology superiority not only in all other fields like microchip, but in the military technology. And here Israel comes. People think that America is trying to help Israel. It is Israel who helps America to maintain its technological superiority, because it is not America, it is Israel, it is the Jews who are the technical superpower, military superpower of the world. So they have collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, when these foundations started showing cracks in the last few decades under, Obama, under Biden, Kamala, these pillars were neglected, which means that control over SLOCs were diluted. Then second pillar, what I said, petrodollar is the control of the oil. America was almost has withdrawn from Middle East. Therefore, its control over oil transactions had eroded. America abandoned its policy of Monroe Doctrine. It allowed countries like Venezuela, who has the 17% of the world's total oil reserve, to start transacting, selling its oil to China. and that too not in dollars, but in yuan. And in fact, recently it is giving them free of course because it is under debt. So all these things was making China a very weak, receding power, and the same people who, with glee, has been mocking at America and predicting its downfall. Today, when Trump has come back to take action, he is the only president in recent time who has stood up to these issues and has decided to take action, whether the world likes it or not like it, because it is a matter of life and death for America. It is its existential problem because it has abandoned the four fundamental pillars of its supremacy, and therefore, mind it, Trump doesn't have time. It has to take action now. If he doesn't do, things were going out of the hand. China, India, BRICS countries, they will completely go on the path of de-dollarization. So, by re-establishing American control over supply of oil from Gulf, Latin America, Canada, and by disrupting supply of sanctioned oil from Russia, Trump is de facto forcing the world to continue buying its oil in dollars, prohibiting the threatened offloading of US Treasury dollar bonds, and derailing the de-dollarization attempts of BRICS countries, which is, in a very advanced stage. It can start anytime now. Many seasoned observers and analysts in the world have not understood the real motives and the strategies behind Trump's bold, deep, out-of-box actions in Middle East, Iran, Venezuela, Canada, and Europe. And many have been too fast in passing their verdicts and judgments, calling Trump foolish, irrational, outrageous, and erratic. Are we, therefore, in our deep dislike of Trump's abominable personality, erratic behavior, offending super egocentric mannerism, missing out the method in his madness? Are we missing something in our hurry to denounce, dismiss, and ridicule Trump?